sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman.
This is Dan Jurgen.
This is Jason J. Lewis, the voice of Superman on Justice League Action.
This is Mark Wade, writer of Superman Birthright.
And you're listening to The Krypton Report.
The Krypton Report podcast is dedicated to all things Superman, Supergirl, and the planet Krypton. We discuss movies, TV, game, comics, and all things DC. So join me, Tyler, with my co-host James and Janine. New Year, because technically this is the first official recording of the Krypton Report for the year 2022. How you doing, James?
Oh, pretty good.
Oh, I'll say.
So far, New Year's going fairly well.
I feel like it's been well, but also weird because the temperature dropped 30 degrees and we got snow. And I don't know how you guys are up there in a little northerner part of Ohio than I am, but we actually had a snow day today.
Oh, wow. No, I don't really have a whole lot of snow on.
It just seemed like it was one of those excuses where they're just like, you know what? They can just do a remote learning day. Let's just stay home.
Well, I heard some other closed down for extra. I don't know if it has anything to do with rising numbers or what. My kids at school, so no, that's closed for next.
Wow, it's crazy. But I know, James, you haven't been feeling too good.
Well, I'm feeling better now, so we wanted to try and do this, but early at the beginning of the week, I didn't have a voice.
I said, "Hey, James." I was like Jay, and he was Silent Bob. He just kept nodding, which doesn't really work on a podcast. I'm like, James, talk. He's like, see, you didn't even hear what I said.
See, the thing was, I was talking. There's just nothing coming out.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So we're just kind of chill. We're taking it easy. We're having a good time. A lot of news to cover, catch up on. Man, it feels like we've done so much, but yet so little because so much has happened. So we're just going to kind of get into it. We're going to jump into the news first and then get crack-a-lackin' looking back at 21. Damn. Let's see here. Let's pull out the old note-taking pad here. Watcha! What I got here? What do I got? Ready? Here we go. Black Adam will reference the Suicide Squad in some way. Okay. All right. Interesting. I guess, it makes sense, if Black Adam's, because we're not sure, the time period of the film. We're going to have ancient Egypt or whatever, ancient Kahndaq. And then is it going to move to modern time, or is it going to move to, a close to modern time and then shift to modern time, to kind of catch it up with the Shazam timeline. So we don't know.
Nope. Not.
The
only thing we're pretty much guaranteed is that we're going to get, multiple periods of time.
So awesome. So moving on to TV, Thanagarians are going to be in Naomi. Not Hawkman per se, but just Thanagarians, proper Thanagarians. So that's cool, padding.
Yeah, that'll be sweet.
And then they can backdoor and talk about the Thanagarian Kryptonian War, so we can tie Krypton back into things, because Lord knows we keep trying to find ways to bring that show into the fold.
Yeah. They end on Bran, Thanagarians flying through the air.
We were like, awesome, and then it was like
pretty major cliffhanger, and that's it.
And nothing. Peace.
Right, that'll be awesome to see. hopefully they do some Thanagarian justice there.
Yeah.
They've had some interesting stories that I've seen. I know in the comics they're heavily convoluted. I heard the last Hawkman series kind of supposed to straighten some stuff out a little. What I heard, because it's just so it just keeps changing.
It's one of those where, you know, the reincarnation of souls, and then it's like, oh, but they're also alien, and you're just kind of like, okay, so what? And I mean, let's face it.
Yeah, like there are different versions. Like there's alien versions. There's versions of beings on Earth and them being resurrected generations and shipped. Yeah,
I was not a huge fan of the Hawkman and Shira that we got on Legends, especially Hawkman. He really wasn't doing it for me. So we'll just leave it there, and we'll keep moving. So The Batman was on the current issue of Empire magazine. That's pretty awesome. A lot of good stuff coming up for that.
One thing we saw is image of Catwoman and see her hands, and she very much almost looks like she has claws.
Which, why not? Like, you know, we don't have to go the whole. Like, it's just kind of funny because, like, we see how her mask is kind of like a ski mask that kind of looks like a cat. Kind of like the way they did the Selena Kyle goggles in The Dark Knight Rises to try to make her look like Catwoman, but not. I'm like, just come on. It's 2022. Just do it. But here's some weird stuff, okay? So I guess Michael Shannon will be General Zod in the Flash movie. And Feora will be back in the Flash movie. And did you know that Ezra Miller will be in the Flash movie? Did you know that as the Flash?
Yeah, I heard they might have. I heard they were thinking about putting him in the Flash movie.
But you know that's a big announcement about added to the Flash movie, added to the Flash, and I'm just like, okay, you know, to me that means it could be something as simple as he's running through Earths, or it shows something about the traveling. And I mean, I'm just going to say this right now. I'm not even addressing rumors on anything. There's too much rumor crap, speculation going on. I'm not going to take my time on here to dissect.
I mean, if they're going to be in it, you know, if Michael Shannon's going to be in it, that'll be great. If it's a Zod, he was fantastic, you know, still one of the best villains.
He's like number 2.
And you know, it would be great to see some more of him in what capacity, you know, we're going to see. Come the Flash.
I agree, you know, and like I said, there's these rumors about how the Flash movie is going to undo the whole Snyderverse stuff or erase Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill. I'm not even talking on that. Like, I'm just whatever. Well, I'm not even going down that rabbit hole.
Well, at this point, that's all we hear, you know, it's just rumor. I mean, at this point, we can't put it past Warner Brothers to want to do that, as ridiculous as it may be. We just can't put it past them that they would still be operating so petty-like. Unfortunately,
I think it's very hard to classify and just say Warner Brothers, because Warner Brothers is a company that's been changing people in and out. So it's kind of like, and with all the media changing, who controls what stuff, it gets so hard to figure out who's really in charge of why something is what it is, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's the really crazy thing about it. Like, as many changes as has happened over at Warner Brothers over the last handful of years, like, how is it still operating on this level where it seems like executives are being petty about what fans want to see and what has done better for them in regards to DC films. And Zack Snyder's Justice League, we all know that given the time, it's not exactly what it was or what it would have been.
Mm-hmm.
But it's nice to see that he was given freedom to at least finish his movie. But the fact that it's so well received, so widely popular, there's no way that some people in those positions that have changed, there's no way that some of them are ignoring.
Right.
You know what I mean?
They're like, there's a way we can make money off this. But anyways.
So.
The next thing, I ran my Naomi poll about what Superman should be, because we got like a picture of Superman in Naomi. And it looks like it's Tyler's costume. But we don't actually see the actor who it is. And out of the poll that I ran, 61% of the people said Tyler, 39% said Brandon Routh. So interesting thought, of just what people are thinking about, what they're interested in, where that's concerned.
Yeah. I seen that behind the scenes picture that you sent. I saw it a couple of different places. The one that you sent, I zoomed in on. It's clearly like no trunks, but I seen somebody post and it looked like trunks. I don't know if they altered it a little bit to make it look like Brandon Routh Superman.
They probably did.
Yeah.
With the way people have been, it would not surprise me one lickety split. So, and will we actually see a person, or will it be kind of like they did Superman in season 1 of Supergirl, where it's just this vague presence in the background? I don't know. We'll see. I'm excited either way. Let's see. Now this is perplexing. Michael Keaton is added to the cast of Batgirl.
Yeah, I don't know what.
So we're having Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne, and we have
J.K.
Commissioner Gordon.
Right.
Is this like Batgirl, but it's also secretly like Batman Beyond?
Yeah, I've heard some rumors, some speculation. It's like he's picking Batgirl as a successor, kind of. Are they merging universes? What's the idea? What's happening here?
Are you just trying to confuse us and piss us off? Because that's where I'm getting right here.
Yeah, I don't know. It
doesn't feel right.
Are they just trying? Is it just nostalgia that they're trying to ride the coattails on the universe? Because the people were talking about how Ben Affleck was to play Batman and continue being Batman, and now you've got 7 can't be Batman unless you literally have just some kind of mentor guy like Bruce from Batman.
Right.
Yeah. Which in that case you don't have Batman.
Right. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, But what does in this world anymore, James? I don't know. What are you going to do?
I don't know. It's really tough to say because there's.
Yep. We're just speaking in shorthand. Yep. And so this is interesting. So The Batman will be on HBO Max 45 days after it's released. So The Batman will be on HBO Max in April. How do you feel about that, James?
Well, I will still be seeing it on the big screen. And if it's fantastic and blows me away, you know, it's always the hope for any movies we go to see. It'll be great to be able to see it sooner than later.
I agree. Because, okay, here's my thing. Awesome. I like the 45-day window. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I like it. But my problem is then if you're doing this 45-day window thing, don't you worry about that cutting into like theatrical profit? Like, are people just going to be like, you know what? It'll be there in a few weeks. Why go to the theater?
Right. Well, I mean, I'm sure they've collected some data this year on the same day as theater, like they did last year, 2021. But I think that they are pressed about added revenue.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Box office the end all, and might I add, like things like COVID and stuff, still a thing. It's not gone. As like some people like to act like it is.
What you talking about,
James? I mean, it's not going anywhere. It's gonna be like the flu, like cold, pneumonia, what have you. It's not going anywhere.
You heard it here first from Dr. James.
Yeah. Some people are still going to be weary of going to theater. And if they're operating on the added revenue stream of the streaming services, like they have to think in terms of as much as they can do, because all of the studios now are doing the 45-day window, with theater chains. So theaters are still getting some exclusivity for a while, so that way they can make money. But
that means just
they develop these streaming services for a reason, and this is part of it.
It just makes me wonder, because I'm like, there's stuff that I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go to the theater, and then I'm like, you know what? It'll be streaming here soon, and I don't need to go to the theater for that. But whatever.
Well, I mean, we've got 7 kids here. There's absolutely no way that the theater is going to be a viable option very often for us as a group.
Right.
More like a date night option. So getting these movies on streaming services will be a lot better. One, get to be able to see them quicker because we're not going to go out to the theater as often. It's like Encanto on Disney.
Yeah, that was great.
Which is amazing.
It was awesome.
It's great. It's fantastic. I loved it. Can put that on and all of us can sit down. We can have night with kids. I've spent money on sound bars and speakers and Blu-ray players and big screen TVs for a reason.
Just jacking yourself into the TV itself, like the Matrix, like chka.
Right?
So, yeah, I agree. Speaking of that, we got a trailer to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah. Which one?
Peacemaker. Duh. What else would there be?
I expect not.
No, like I'm not gonna break down the Peacemaker trailer, but it, you know, the thing was, it's just another, what you think you're gonna get from this trailer of the show, because the show's coming out here soon. And I mean, like I've said before, if it wasn't John Cena, I wouldn't be as interested. But it's John Cena's likability that makes me interested. I know that you had one little problem with the trailer about the scene where he's making comments about Wonder Woman and everything. You were like, look at this. What are they doing?
Well, the thing I think, like, I entirely find it plausible that somebody, and this, for one, this character is only this character in the show. Certainly not portrayed this way in the comics,
this is
in the least.
That's what makes it interesting about arguing guns like movies and comic book films is, yeah, it's based on the comic, but he's not really doing the characters. He's kind of just making his own thing up using these characters' names. You know, so
which in and of itself can be somewhat problematic. I mean, we are wanting to see some characters. Yeah.
I mean, just like the whole Idris Elba thing, like they didn't know who he was filming the movie. You know, he was supposed to be a Deadshot replacement, and then they were like, maybe he's going to be Vigilante, Bronze Tiger, Bloodsport. So, I mean, he's playing this character, and they're filming, but yet he doesn't exactly know who he is.
Yeah. And it's totally plausible for, you know, you were talking about the scene the scene that I sent you, about Peacemaker, and they ask him if he knows Wonder Woman. He says, "Yeah, I know Wonder Woman. She spent an entire party IFing across a classroom full of children. These kids look like third graders, fourth graders."
Yep.
And a parent's all like, "Huh?" He's like, "What? I said effing." Like that was the problem, you know. Totally plausible character, how, especially being written by James Gunn, how that character react, and people react, or people act in general, talking crap, you know. But I don't know. It's very disrespectful towards the character of Wonder Woman, that now portrayed. Now Wonder Woman is being portrayed as the woman who has flash fall on her chest, because that's the way the DC people want it. That the theatrical version of Justice League's canon. So you get Wonder Woman who's got flash falling on her chest. You got Wonder Woman whose ass is always in focus. In shots. You know, being portrayed the way she was in some parts of Wonder Woman 1984, and now this, like, there's almost a disrespect going on towards these characters. And is it just misogyny that and Wonder Woman being a popular hero, or is it because Gal excuse me, part of me being sick, or is it because Gal Gadot was cast in Zack Snyder's Justice League, and that's how she became Wonder Woman? Is it that petty?
I mean,
you know,
I don't know. I mean, I can get it from the Peacemaker side, just because it's like a jock dude bragging about the hot chick. You know, like, oh yeah, man, she was totally checking me out. You know what
exactly.
I'm saying? So,
yeah, I mean, I can absolutely see that being the character as written by James Gunn in the first place, and being portrayed the way he is.
So it doesn't bother me. It's the other stuff you mentioned that I can really be like, yeah, that kind of bothers me more. Like just where they're trying to pull her down to being a sex object more than the character that she is and should be. But yeah, I mean, the whole him saying stuff didn't really bother me, just because I'm like, I just take it as like that dumb jock dude who's trying to brag about. And it's not like she's in it, so it's not like there's Gal in it doing the scene or anything. So
yeah. I mean, the first time I watched the trailer, I laughed. I was like, oh, that's funny. Like, he's. I could see him saying that. I could see him, and then you got this character totally oblivious saying this type of stuff in front of children. Oh yeah, it's trash humor. I get it. It's funny. But I also, but then after that, you just kind of think about what they've done to the character of Wonder Woman, and that's when it starts to be like, you wonder if these people are taking their IP seriously at all anymore.
I don't know.
Or if it's just trying to be this ridiculous tone for everything moving.
Give us a job. But that's Peacemaker. Now, what's this other trailer you mentioned?
The Batman trailer.
Oh, you mean the trailer that dropped out of nowhere that no one knew what was going on, and all of a sudden there it was?
Like on Christmas Day or whatever?
It was like a late Christmas gift to us. Like the 27th, right. I think it was. It just appeared out of nowhere. I was like, what? It was like on a Monday.
Yeah, the Bat and the Cat trailer.
I'm not going to spend all the time breaking it down scene by scene, but I will say, first of all, I like this trailer a lot. Because the other two trailers I felt like was more about visual mood and language. And this actually makes me feel like I understand what the dialogue is going to sound like, how the characters are going to talk and interact. So I don't want another trailer after this. I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot of that. I'm also good myself in that respect. The first Fandom trailer was great. It just, and one thing that hasn't changed is the aesthetic of the movie. Like that does not have me excited in the least. That's part of what's held it back for me since the beginning. And then the next trailer was a little less lackluster. And it didn't get me any more excited at all for the Bat. But this trailer, the idea of Bruce having been back in town for 2 years and he's still a billionaire. The idea of that being a story element. Really cool. Some of the visuals that they've shot in this movie, the Batmobile flipping car, the camera going with it, the camera like at the back of the Batmobile when it slides, him coming off the building, the way the camera's almost down his back as he kind of takes the dive off the front. So there's some elements to this trailer like him gliding through the streets, but actually it's like flying, like zipping streets, less like gliding like The Dark Knight, and a lot more controlled. The scenes of him fighting multiple people with weapons, the large explosion, and focusing on him dropping down and just landing on his feet. There's so many actual like comic book elements that I'm starting to feel from this movie. So in my opinion, it's like they've got this aesthetic that's almost gritty and real world, but hopefully there's like room to build and develop that aesthetic to be a little more something we would recognize as comic book, but the feel of it the things that Batman is doing, and like Catwoman and the way she's jumping off the building, the cats she has, her claws and stuff. There's a real comic book feel that I'm starting to get from this trailer, and I'm hoping that's the case, because I would love it to be more, because we've discussed this about how the Dark Knight trilogy is some of the worst and some of the best and some of the worst things to happen to comic book films, and especially Batman and DC. And I just hope, like I said, I'm getting this comic feel from it, and I'm hoping that's real. I'm hoping that that's going to be the case, where, because we're already going in to suspend this on a character, the man who can do all this stuff that is impossible, and he's a man without power, does all this stuff possible. So, like, pulling back on having to explain everything, once you explain that, once you explain away everything, you don't have to suspend your disbelief. We're already going in for that. You don't have to explain things away. So I'm hoping that that it continues what I'm getting from this trailer,
My thing, it gives me a little bit of the feels of like Batman Begins and Batman 89, where there was this color palette, this tone, this visual it's real, but still has somewhat of a tweaked on reality feel. That I feel like the Dark Knight abandoned when we got there compared to Batman Begins.
Oh, entirely.
And so,
and I'm hoping that this goes the other way.
And so, with
that we get more of that comic feel as it would continue.
The only thing,
I mean, the scenes where he's getting shot in the hallway, and he's getting shot by automatic weapons. The bullets are bouncing off. Like, there's absolutely no way that Nolan's Batman, his armor, would have done that. And this armor doesn't appear that it would be like entirely that bulletproof, but it is. And that's what I mean. You're suspending disbelief that it's like Ben Affleck's. It looks more like a rubber suit, but it's heavily armored. And get that from Batman in the comic books. It's different layers of armor, but it's so light and flexible that he's able to do the things he does. You know what I mean? It's two things that wouldn't necessarily work: heavily armored and being able to the way he does. But that's what you're suspending your disbelief on, and that's kind of what I'm getting from some of the scenes with the bat suit and the fighting in this trailer.
The only thing, like you talk about, like, I'm excited for it. I like the idea of like a really good Batman detective story, in a world, in a Gotham that feels gothic and big. The only thing, like, the suit is not 100% like, oh, it's the greatest Batman suit. It has its moments. It looks good in certain ways. It looks like somebody blended the Gotham by Gaslight and the Noel or the Bermejo Batman suit together. But it's also like it gives you somewhere to go moving forward so that you can kind of keep refining and tweaking it. The Riddler's outfit thing is the one that I'm still just like, really? This whole thing? Even Solomon was like, I don't like the look of the Riddler, Daddy. It doesn't make sense. I'm like, all right. Heard it from the soon to be 7-year-old. So,
right.
But other than that, like, I'm on board with everything. Like, I'm good. The only thing I could say is I would have loved if they just straight up in this movie would have Harvey Dent, so we could have another film of just like Harvey Dent, and then like in a third movie, if we want to do Two-Face, so that we have this character there, build it, instead of trying to introduce Harvey and Two-Face and everything at the same time. Like, how about just give me Harvey moving forward?
Yeah, I honestly, studios and stuff, story writers, and stuff. They're stuck in this 3-movie, this trilogy thing, where that's all you can get out of a character. And I mean, that's not the case. You got 5 Craig James Bond films.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Why can't we have 5 Batman films as long as there's a story to tell and there's people who are able to write it? I don't think it should be limited to 3, especially it's too brutal.
I mean, and that's the thing. You bring up Craig James Bond is the best because he had 5 films, and if you look at how each film kind of added more to him being James Bond. Like it was a build up to him being like having the car, the gadget, the team, everything that when you think of Bond was there by the time we got to Spectre. I think Spectre's when it's officially like he kind of gets it in Skyfall, but then you have that at the end of Skyfall is where you actually get the new M with Moneypenny, like her officially being like as Moneypenny. So when you go into Spectre, right. And Spectre's probably the weakest of his films, but that's a whole other conversation. But then at the end of Spectre, it's kind of like into the most recent film, No Time to Die. It's kind of almost like a deconstruction of Bond. So you have this rise and fall arc of his Bond, and you could do that with Batman. You could do that with a continual through storyline. Like you don't have to be, and by the 3rd film, he's this, you could do a build of the character. You just have to have people who are willing to do it, continue with the role. And that's why they always try to get people who are a little younger or more unknowns.
I mean,
because they're like, oh, you need this.
Right. I mean, absolutely. I mean, hell, look at Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible. You know what I mean? 1, 2, 3, 4. Like he goes up and then like he's torn down and he's made to be the enemy. Like it's very easy to generate this rise and fall on this character. His entire history is a rise and fall.
Yeah, where people don't know what to make of him.
And picking himself back up.
26 years for Tom Cruise doing Mission Impossible movies. He was supposed to end with Ghost Protocol, but then he's like, you know what?
Rogue Nation. And you know what? Fallout.
We're just gonna we're gonna keep it going. I like this. So
yeah.
But there's more Batman to talk to come down the road. We got.
So I mean, yeah, this trailer. I know last time the trailer came out, I was like, this isn't as good. It's just not exciting. It's not bringing, it's not doing it. But like, we've got this this stationary camera, got a very good focus on the flow of the action. It looked really good. Like I said, there's a lot of comic book elements coming through. Some of the Batman should be getting, and that's starting to come through. I hope it comes through even more in the movie. This trailer got me a little more excited for the Batman because I wasn't. So it did its job, and I'm hoping that it is just a building, starting ground. So that way we can get more and more comic bookness coming from.
And we'll just put a pin in it there because we have more discussions on Batman, building up to the release of that film. But let's talk about Superman and Supergirl and the whole super family and what we got in 2021. We're going to kick it off here with a little shout out to new friends that we have made this year. We made some fun new friends this year, James, here at the podcast. We got shout outs to Zach Benz over at the Daily Planet, the Geek of Steel, Luke Bugg, Anthony Desiato, host of Digging for Kryptonite, our friend Kelly Gettner over at the Phoenix Sisters cosplay, Mr. Nate McKenzie over at the Superman the Animated Series podcast, Rachel over on Supergirl Radio, and we've had some great episodes this year. I mean, some of the highlights that we had, I just want to talk about. Finally got Zach Moore on here from Always Hold On to Smallville. We got to talk to Michael Bailey, big time Superman fan. Andy DiGenova we just recently did from Holy Batcast. I got to talk to Cinema Blend's own Sean O'Connell. And we interviewed Mark Waid. And then, of course, I got to interview George Newbern and talk to Superman himself. So it was a good year, I'd say.
Oh, absolutely. I agree. It's a highlight that didn't get to join you on a few of those.
Some of them,
but some good listens.
Things happen, people.
Like
I always try to get James, but life.
Yeah, it's been a pretty crazy year, and honestly, the last 5 months, into the house, and then into the house here, and then the baby was born, and then, oh my God, we had to have spent October, November, and December sick.
That's how it feels. I feel like as soon as one of us is better, like someone else is getting sick, and it's just like one of those, like as soon as you hear a cough, you're like, putting it down.
Attack you with Lysol, you start coughing, you're just going to get sprayed.
Yeah, you know what? I'll be in the bedroom. See you in a week.
Right.
So let's talk about, we'll kind of do this like in descending order, I guess, but one of my favorite things are the McFarlane figures. We've got quite a few Superman McFarlane figures this year. And some of them might have come out last year. I'm not sure 100%. I was trying to do my research, but I just had some to talk about. But, the one thing is we haven't got a Supergirl McFarlane figure yet. It's been released. And another thing is some of them I'm getting a little confused on. Because if I go to McFarlane's website, it says for pre-order, but I have one sitting on my shelf, or I've seen them in Target. So, you know what I'm saying? But
right.
We kicked off the year with the Red Sun. I think was this past year. Yeah, I think it came out early.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. So McFarlane's Toys is his DC line. It might have started 2020, but I really think it kicked off heavily in 2021.
Oh, it just
especially after Zack Snyder Justice League.
I feel like it just kept building because it kicked off. The first one I got was the Superman Action Comics 1000 figure, and then it's just kind of built. And earlier this year I got the Red Sun Superman. So that had to have come out maybe end of 2020, early 2021. That figure, which is a really great figure. The sculpt is good and the face is slightly different in it. The Black Suit Animated Series Superman came out. I have not got that one yet.
Me neither. I have Red Sun.
The Superman Death Metal figure came out that my wife surprised me and got me because she's amazing. It's the most stark different Superman figure when you look at my collection. No cape, black pants, gray arm, chains wrapped around him. It's
yeah. The Omega effect in his arm, chain. The long hair.
He definitely pops out. It's like, oh, okay, that one's different.
Definitely a metal Superman.
We got the
almost expect him to have a hand that's throwing up the horn.
Exactly. That's what's missing. Where's that one, McFarlane? I got the Superman Doomsday set where it's the Batman Doomsday figure, which the Superman figure is pretty much the same as the Action 1000, just his got a different face sculpt on him. But that's a pretty awesome set. They just at the end of the year released the Lex Luthor, where he's wearing like the Superman suit that he created during Rebirth, but he's like got the what do you call it, the dark side like face, where he was Lord Luthor. I'm drawing a blank on what the Emperor Lex.
He ended up being the what was it, the God of Apocalypse. He was the ruler on Apocalypse at the end of the end of Darkseid.
I haven't got that one yet. It's on my wish list, but that was one that was released, and that since he is wearing the Superman shield in that, and he was being quote unquote Superman trying to be during the Rebirth, I thought I'd mention that.
Yeah, I wanted that because they did that before in the Mattel line when it went from the red box to the box, and they had a Build-A-Fig, and Lex was the Build-A-Fig. So, like, you would have to get a whole bunch of other figures just to make Lex. Now,
that was right there at the end when Mattel was ending, because I feel like a lot of those figures in that whole line kind of got lost. The only figures I think I got from that line was I got Shazam, because I found it like clearanced at Walmart, and I got the Superman Kingdom Come that they did for that line. And I think that was it in the whole blue. No, I take that back. I got a couple more, but they were ones I bought for Solomon to do the Build-A-Figure for Killer Croc. So I have a.
I was gonna say, you got Solo the Red Hood one.
Yep, he got that for Christmas, but that's his figure. But yeah, so I have Katana, and I have a really cool Batman, like a blue and gray Batman. That was all part of that for the Lizard, should I say, or Killer Croc? Sorry, He loves anything reptilian. Go figure. And then recently, we had the Rebirth Superman figure that just came out, and I found that at GameStop, and they had it on sale. Plus, I had my $5 coupon, so I got it for like $10. And it's cool. It's the second Rebirth Superman figure I have. I like it because technically, as we've discussed, that is Superman Blue. And now they just need to give me a Reborn figure. I've seen like mock-ups of them, but I want a Superman Reborn figure in 2022, and I want a Tyler Hoechlin Superman figure in 2022. McFarlane. And then they gave us the Zack Snyder's Justice League, Henry Cavill Superman, the red and blue, which was a Target exclusive, and the black.
I have red and blue. I have black.
I have them both. I ordered them,
but I did. Instead of that one, I was able to snag the gold label dark side armor. I don't have the
That's what I
armor. Have. I have label dark side the armor.
The only Zack Snyder figures I have is I got Aquaman and I got Darkseid, and I have the Supermans. I got the Wonder Woman in the gold armor because I found it for I got it for like $5 at GameStop because it had already been clearanced down to $9.99, and I had my $5 coupon. So I was like, okay.
Right.
I got that back in the summer. But what's funny is I went to Walmart the other day, and they had all these, I saw the DC boxes. It was all Zack Snyder Justice League figures, and they were all just Aquaman. And I'm like, oh, all right. I really want to get the Flash, and, I want to get them all. I want to get Flash and Batman. But I just haven't yet. So, I mean, that...
Yeah, I haven't been able to, yeah.
That's, and then they started doing the gold label stuff, and I didn't even realize they were doing that. I need Steppenwolf. I've seen him a couple of times at the store, but yeah, I need him, and I'm not doing this whole like gray paint thing.
I'm gonna have him. I'm gonna have the Snyder standing on the head of the studio cut Steppenwolf.
Well, I mean, at least that sucks because that was a Build-A-Figure. That thing's hard to find. You know, like I have like I think his leg, or like I have some body piece of him.
Well, last year, one thing that I did, and I sent you guys the message, I found a complete set of Justice League multiverse figures from back when it was Redbox, when the 2017 studio came out. So I was able to get the entire set, and I took out all the pieces and I put stuff.
That's right. You did. I need a picture of that. Send me a picture of that. I want to see because I'm curious about something. I remember that now. Man, I'm getting old. But the only ones I got was so from that, I should have bought Superman because I didn't get Superman from Justice League because he was like the same figure as Man of Steel, just they colored him a little darker, which is ironic because I feel like his suit in Justice League Studio Cut's actually brighter than his Man of Steel, or not Man of Steel, his BVS suit. But it's the same figure as BVS, just darker blue. And then I didn't buy Aquaman. I wanted to, but I had bought Aquaman from BVS, which is the most random figure ever because why do they even make merchandise for Aquaman for BVS is beyond me. But I bought Flash. And then I bought the Batman. I found Batman discounted at Walmart for $5 with the armor, the end of the movie's armor. And then I got the Cyborg. I found him on clearance at Walmart real cheap. It was the face shield Cyborg, which is technically a Zack Snyder Cyborg because that's the only time you see him with the face shield. So that was the Cyborg that I had for the Justice League. And they're on my shelf. So good time for figures. That's what we're saying. We're 30-year-old men who like collecting action figures. But that's cool.
Yes, sir.
So we'll jump over now to movies. What was Superman in the movies? Well, we got the announcement of the J.J. Abrams Superman produced film and whatever that's going to be. We haven't heard anything about it since. We don't know what it's going to be, really. I'm just going to leave it at that, honestly, because it's been speculative. And we got the Michael B. Jordan produced, maybe now starred in, maybe Val Zod film for HBO Max that was announced.
Yeah, we got the announcement that he was going to be working on something. Then we got the official thing saying from I'm pretty sure from Michael, in fact, going to Val Zod. And that's about the last
it wasn't even mentioned at Fandom. So I expect to see that in like 2023 or 4, so I'm not holding my breath.
As an active in production Superman content, I would say that's probably, and I'm not saying like filming or nothing, but pre-production phase, even in pre-production phase, the Val Zod is definitely high point of the one I'm most seeing.
It'll be interesting to see his story and where they go with him, because he's one of those characters like I want to read more about, but it's harder to find his stories.
Yeah, well, I mean, he just came into being in the New 52 in Earth 2, and I find it unlikely that they are going to do the Earth storyline for him in the show, because it's actually pretty. So the Earth 2 storyline is actually, it's not about one specific person. It's about all of the heroes on Earth
Mm-hmm.
2. So, I mean, it's kind of like you could think of Injustice, where it encompasses the DC. It encompasses DC on the Earth 2 side. It's very expansive. It covers the entire globe. Apocalypse and Darkseid and theories involved. It's pretty major storyline for the whole thing.
Yeah, it is. And, in that story, like Superman, the regular Superman of Earth 2 is killed. Him, Wonder Woman, and Batman are killed, like at the very beginning from Darkseid. And that's part of the whole thread of what Darkseid's doing in the New 52. So there's that. Now, you said Injustice.
They end up sacrificing themselves, protecting their Earth from Darkseid for a little while
I heard
longer.
you say Injustice. You mean that movie that came out that sucked?
Yeah. That
I'm not going to sugarcoat it, people. I was not happy with that. You go back and listen to James and I's idea of what that movie should have been and how it could have been a two-parter and really been something, and you'll understand what we're saying, okay? All I'm saying is that movie sucked. And I got excited for it. I pre-ordered like the 4K version because it was like a couple bucks more than the regular Blu-ray. And I'll probably never watch it again.
Yeah, that's really sad. Such a fantastic comic book, a really good video game story that it's developed, and they just made it. It's crazy, how soon history can repeat itself by just trying to pack too much story into one movie, and it doesn't work out, and it's crazy because it's almost another Superman story. They did it before.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Well, like I said, go back and listen to that. We're not happy with that film. I don't think anybody liked that movie.
There's very little.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't really think of anything other than a couple of minutes at the beginning, and that's over. And then the big high note for Superman of 2021 was, of course, Zack Snyder's Justice League, where we got to see Henry Cavill back in the true performance that he was given. His very minimal dialogue in that movie. Very minimal. I think that's why when he says not impressed, it's such a huge big deal, because that's like one of his only lines. And we got the black suit, which I like the black suit, but I prefer the blue and red, to be honest with you. But, but that was, the big movie of this year for Superman was, of course, Zack Snyder's Justice League. And we've talked about that in lengths, but it's just nice to see.
And we're not done talking.
Yeah, it'll probably never be done talking about it. So we're going to move over to TV. And at TV this year, we had announcement-wise, we got the My Adventures with Superman, the animated series coming to HBO Max. That was announced. And we saw some artwork for it. And that was it. There was nothing for it for fandom or anything, no release dates, nothing. So that was announced. That's cool. Awesome. We got the HD releases of Smallville, the complete series, along with Lois and Clark being brought to HBO Max with a high-def remaster, which looks awesome. And Superman the Animated Series got a Blu-ray release and is on HBO Max in higher quality, which was awesome. That all happened just in this past October.
Yeah, very, very good month for Superman.
Which doesn't seem like it was that long ago. Here we are in January, and it just feels like yesterday was October. And so regular television, looking back at, we had Titans Season 3, which saw probably the best version of Superboy ever. This Josh Orpin is Superboy. This is the Connor that I really, really like.
Live act, absolutely. There's a debate on the Young Justice as the best Superboy ever.
Well, Young Justice, if you look at it as a whole, he has a great arc. And I think you can still kind of touch, I think this isn't really spoilers, but I think for season 4 of Titans would be neat if they explore Superboy more and do kind of like the Jeff Johns where the Lex side started to take over Superboy and maybe let him start to get into the anger a little bit more and deal with how he's feeling as kind of this clone. And, it'd be great to have an interaction or more conversation about Superman not being there.
You could see some of that potentially coming out if they were to further the storyline, develop season 3 of Genome City, of him being a genome and kind of in a political aspect, see the other side coming down if you had out in the public eye like that.
I like the idea of bringing out this character to where you actually flush him out to having the powers of Superman with the brain of Lex Luthor, and really being like the best of both of those two.
Yeah, and they did a really good job on that. Joshua Orr season.
They're developing that, and I loved it. I loved some of like the innocentness of him. Yeah,
I definitely see his version of Superboy taking that route of Jeff Johns being him being like.
So
especially Titan being like produced by him.
I would like to see a little bit more with him in Titans, and let's back off. Like, it's Titans, not Dick Grayson. It's Titans, not Nightwing. Let's really back off the Dick Grayson. Like, you've expanded his arc and done enough with him. Like, I want him there, but don't try to make me this into a Batman styled show. Okay, how about we explore the other characters? Okay, capiche? All right.
Well, I mean, it's there's a couple of things I want to say. Like, so Titans, I don't see why the writers and everything kind of wanted one foot in, one foot out thing. Like, they've done so good with the costumes and half the time putting in the costumes some of character development and character interactions. They've done really good with a lot of that. But then they also don't take that next step, and they just want to stay on the other side of Scarecrow. Time for masks is over. Like, he had Scarecrow mask, he never wore it. But one thing I do think is really good was how Jonathan Crane was there, and people were terrified of him. Even as himself out of costume. As soon as they knew Jonathan Crane, as soon as they knew Scarecrow, they fell in line because they're afraid of super. And that's the way it should be. Like, the one villain should have the ability to bring the city almost to its knees, almost to its breaking, which I'm hoping is kind of something they're going to do with the Riddler in the Batman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, that's the point of the supervillains is one person and their machinations should be enough to, like, the city, organized crime and all. So I think they did a really good job in that aspect. So they push it. They go up to that line, but they don't ever cross the line into what could actually make it a great show.
Yep, they always, like you said, they pull back. Right when they get to, like, they get going, they're like, "Oh, this is so good, and then it's like, and you're weird. And you're like,
Right.
really, guys? Really? So, yeah. And speaking of Superboy, as of this recording, Young Justice Season 4 is at its mid-season. So we're going to mention how they killed Connor. I am not happy.
They killed Connor in the first arc season.
I am not happy. But there's hope from how they ended the mid-season with his soul, essence, energy, whatever. But it's worth mentioning that they killed Connor.
Yeah. So we haven't really talked a whole lot about it.
Nope, 'cause we can't.
Really curious as to
We
what's.
can't. We just start
Yeah,
crying.
I know. Pretty much. I don't. So the Legion was around. The Legion was around for a reason. They never ever specify what the reason is, or what they do. Like they were waiting for something. Something happens, and then they spring into action. But we never see what they do. We never see who they're there for or anything. So I don't like. I'm curious if it's something Superboy, taking him to the future, protecting Psyche so he survived. I mean, we see the Legion one more time, but they're just there watching somebody. I can't even remember where it was.
It's on the street.
Yeah, but they weren't involved. Like they were there watching over Superboy and Ms. Martian, waiting for something to happen on Mars. But they were involved in that arc, and then when they showed up again, they were not. They never involved. They haven't shown up since. In the 3 arcs, in 2 other arcs.
Mm-hmm.
So then, yeah, we get this. I don't know, like you said, soul, spirit, life force, astral projection, something that calls out for help, and Zatanna.
Yep, and
So we're not done with Connor. Fingers crossed.
yeah, I mean, because I was just like, I'm watching this, like, are you serious? I should have known as soon as, like, man, this is good stuff. I should have, like, prepare for heartbreak, Tyler.
Yeah. I remember when it happened, and I didn't spoil it for you or anything, but you knew something happened because I was like, oh my God, did you watch Young Justice?
I was like, not yet. You're like,
in the episode where he
you're
died.
like, okay, talk to you later.
Yeah, that's it. I was like, I'm not even going into it. Like, let me know when you watch it.
And I did. I let you know.
Yeah. The next thing, it was like, WTF. They killed Connor.
I'm like, that's it.
As soon as you were done.
James.
So, speaking on Connor, I have advised you to read his time in Suicide Squad in the current run. So, I am in my Future State had 2 books, and then I'm in the 7th, not the 7th issue, annual issue
There.
after issue 6, and then I'll be doing issue 7 through, I think, 9 or 10 that's out. But I'm enjoying I'm really enjoying the Connor aspect of reading Suicide Squad.
Dope. Sounds good. And then we said goodbye to Supergirl this year. Very mixed feelings about the end of that show. We talked about how it felt like it kind of the show was kind of limping at the end and had become more of how do you like
Super Friends.
And it just kind of went out without like it kind of went out like it was gone, you know, like
yeah, it went out with a whimper.
It's like, all right, guys, we're done. You know, whew, we made it. It didn't go out with a bang, like, and we talked about how it felt like the show had just become so much about everyone else other than the characters that it was Supergirl. Like, it wasn't even really her show anymore. But, you know, it's kind of bittersweet because in some ways I was sad to see it go because, you know, that's what kind of helped kickstart this podcast. And it had become just kind of that in the background. But at the same time, it had become such a chore to watch.
Especially in
you know, it was just the last season was just more and more of being more frustrated about just what are you guys doing with your characters, with your villains? You know, you set up Nyxly to be this awesome villain, and then it ends up being she's fighting Kara's fighting Lex Luthor, you know, and it kind of
yeah. They set her up to be this big villain. They nerf her with the magic dampening device around her wrist.
Yeah, for like the whole time she's there.
So yeah, and then in the final episode when they're fighting with fifth dimensional energy, they're still only using they're still using arm cannon just blast at each other.
And I mean, Lex comes back into the picture and it becomes like, oh, so it's basically Supergirl versus Lex Luthor. And then the big way they get rid of the villain and wrap it all up is by sending them to the Phantom Zone.
Yeah, by pulling a Justice. Smell that. That's
yeah. I'm like, so wait, what you're telling me is you just send them to the Phantom Zone? Like you couldn't have just done that from the get-go?
Well, wasn't and when they escaped the Phantom Zone, wasn't the Phantom Zone stabilized? Wasn't it fractured and coming apart and stuff?
And they didn't even play on that.
But they go back
to it. They don't even oh no, Lex Luthor's a human going to the Phantom Zone. You know, Nyxly's going back to the Phantom Zone. It was, we'll just leave it. So, goodbye, Supergirl. We enjoyed you. You know, I plan on doing a rewatch of the first season here soon. I think it'll be very eye-opening to just kind of go back and see how it was. I mean, I've often gone back to elements of season 2 because that's when Superman first showed up and we did that big, you know, kind of Superman rewatch last year. And so it'll be, it'll be interesting to go back and just watch the whole thing again. But it'll probably be a while before I do that. But I am going to just go back and watch the first season.
Yeah, I would definitely like to watch the season again. I really did enjoy Melissa as Kara, as Supergirl. I love her portrayal throughout the entire show. She's great. She looked the part. She embodied the part. She was awesome. And I hope, you know, they certainly didn't kill her.
Yeah, I'm like,
i.e. Oliver. So maybe we can see her cameo again.
Yes, she should, because I'm a continuity stickler. And it kills me that they didn't even address anything.
I would love to see her pop up Superman and Lois in the next season.
Yeah, just one quick thing. Pop up. Oh, there she is.
Cousin Kara coming. The boys are graduating high school in 2 years. comes to their graduation.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to see her as Supergirl, but hell, even that
I'll be
would
fine. You know, just film. Okay, I keep saying this is my new thing. If Zack Snyder can film an actor who's not on set with anyone else and then put them in the movie and make it as believable as Tig was in Army of the Dead, then just film Melissa in front of a green screen, okay? Just give me some shots and put her in there for continuity's sake, okay? Which brings us to I think the biggest Superman thing of the year was Superman and Lois, season 1.
Oh, fantastic!
I mean, amazing show.
The flagship show that had.
It's amazing to me people who were fans of Superman and didn't like watch it at first and then started to later. I was like, oh my god, this is so good. I'm like, how are you going to be a fan of this character and not be excited to check it out? I mean, this show is it's everything I.
Well, you know, because it wasn't produced in
No, that's true.
1978.
Yeah, you're right. Should have thought about that one before I opened my mouth, because, you know, anything with Superman after 1978, or some people may argue 83, or some people may argue 87, doesn't count, doesn't exist. There is none.
Right.
But you could hear us talking lengths about that show. But all I'm saying is that has been the highlight of just everything's firing on all cylinders. Like, I'm excited for the next season and nervous, but
Well, as of 4 days from now, we're getting the premiere of season 2.
so we'll talk about that in an upcoming episode soon.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome. We get to jump right back into that soon.
So let's jump into some comics highlights. I tried to keep track of all the big Superman-based thing, but I know there's probably some that have slipped through the cracks. We had Superman and the Authority, which was good. A lot of people really loved Superman and the Authority. I liked it. A lot of people really love Grant Morrison writing Superman. And to me, it's kind of hit and miss. But that's a discussion for another time.
Yeah, I thought Superman in the was good. It was good, and I loved the way that they brought in like Humanite back as Superman villain. There's some really awesome things about it. It's really just a team building book. 4 issues of Superman bringing together the Authority.
Yeah. You're absolutely correct. It was interesting, and hearing some of like the history of how that came to be has been cool. So let's see here. We had the Super Sons. Was it Legends of the Super Sons that came out, the short run? That was fun. Little 8-year-old John.
I think that was Adventures of the Super
Too
Sons.
many of the same words get thrown around. I forget, people. I'm not.
Oh, and there was Challenge
the
of the
one.
Super Sons. Challenge.
That's the one. That was a fun book. 8-year-old.
Which I pick up all the
Was it 12-year-old Jonathan? It's just awesome and fun to be with. As much as I am enjoying the other big title of Superman, Son of Kal-El. Technically, it's a Superman / Superboy book where it is John. I like John as a kid. I like that aspect, and I hate that that's gone. To be completely honest.
Yeah, it went too fast. It absolutely went away.
They aged him up, to be like 17, and then aged him up a little bit again to where he is now. Like, one of the highlights of this year for us is we went and met Tom Welling, and we met Dan Jurgens together at a con in Michigan. Mm-hmm. And Dan Jurgens created John Kent, and I had him sign my Lois and Clark book where John Kent and them come to this earth and in the comics and everything. And I mentioned I miss that character, and it's especially now that Solomon's about to turn 7, he even more is like that character that's in that book that I enjoyed reading. And I'm okay with them doing some sort of more of a story with Damien and John as kids where, you know, all you have to do is they get transported with the Legion or something, and they're returned right to the exact moment they left, you know, one of those type things where they can do all this and have these grand adventures or whatever. And I just think that that you've taken away the element that I loved of Superman as a father. Yes, he's still a father, but he's at that point now where his kid's moving on and he's not really raising his child anymore. That element of him being the day in, day out dad trying to take care of a, 8 to 12-year-old boy really was amazing in the character, and they've taken that from us. And that was something that I really connected to.
Yeah, we didn't get to see him working with his son to develop his powers, to develop his. God has started to do things, and then he went off world and came back. He was 7. He went to the future. He came back 18, 19.
20, 21, 27. Who knows?
Yeah, like just straight cutting out that fatherhood aspect, which was so fantastic during the era.
And that's one thing in recent times that I've really not agreed with and been upset with, but and that is what it is, so.
Yeah, I mean, the son of Kal-El.
Yeah, it is.
Tom Taylor's awesome. But yeah, it's they did cut out a lot of potential elements aged so rapidly.
And let's see. We had, and we'll come back around, so don't worry, people. The Superman vs. Lobo, that hasn't concluded yet. That's been an interesting read, and everyone knows how I feel that I'm not a huge Lobo fan at all. We have I'm not talking about too much, it's not done, so it's hard to talk about. We have the Dark Knights, Legend of the Dark Knights, just Steel.
Dark Knights of Steel.
And I'm getting tired because I have been up for ever. And that just started. Issue 3 just came out. I have to go pick it up. So that's worth mentioning.
I have it. I haven't read it yet. I really loved issues 1 and 2.
I'm digging it, and we're going to be reviewing that here shortly. We're catching up on stuff. We've just been busy. The holidays take a lot, as fathers, as husband, I am, and James and his family, and
hopefully y'all are listening, coming back, being with us during facts, catching up on comments here soon. Things get stretched pretty thin.
And sometimes my comic shop keeps horrible hours. So trying to jump over there and get stuff can be a problem. I think one of the biggest highlights of comic books has been the Superman 78 book that launched this year. That it's been met with mainly all positive reviews. I like it. I'm enjoying it. There's a few things I was kind of like, I didn't mind where we're what, 1 issue away from it being over. I've liked it. I haven't loved it because I feel like, first of all, they're incorporating things I didn't like in Superman 2, because they really are just looking at the film canon in itself. And the other thing is, I was okay with Jor-El not coming back. I really didn't need that. I didn't mind him meeting Kryptonians in Kandor and everything, but I really did not need Jor-El. But that's just me.
Yeah. Well, the voices are written very well.
Yes, they are.
They feel just like the characters. They sound just like the characters.
The art works as being just likeness enough to know what that is, who that is, without feeling like you're going to get sued or have to pay likeness rights.
Right.
So it works, and that's been a pleasure of just being a good, solid Superman story that exists outside of everything else, and also being a different flavor of Superman. I think the highlight of comics for me this year, though, has been the Red and Blue anthology books. The 6 anthology books that we reviewed, that I miss those. Like, I miss getting those collections.
Yeah. I would say that there was a couple of those anthology books that were really good. And some of them, some of the stories that were just a little a little less great. I mean, they were, everything in it was pretty good. I don't think we
ever found one that we hated.
Yeah, that's what I'm going for. I don't found one that we did that. But we did certainly have some that we loved
more than others.
I mean, I think it's tough for me to choose between Tom Taylor's or Philip Kennedy Johnson's writing last. Well, Philip Kennedy Johnson's had more books, more issues for Superman this year than Tom Taylor. So I probably have Kennedy Johnson, because I'm definitely enjoying his run on Action.
Oh, yeah. And that's what we were saving for the last kind of highlight point of the year.
Well, you're welcome.
Perfect segue, James. It's like we planned it. But no, in all seriousness, we are, being correct here that Action Comics with Philip Kennedy Johnson has been an amazing read. It is probably, what I love about it is, even though we're on a different world, is how it's the perfect way of putting real world issues and things that happen that we should discuss into a comic where I don't feel like I'm being force fed something. Recent.
Yeah, it's getting a message through without slapping you in the face with the message.
Recently, Philip has done some amazing interviews with our friends, The Last Sons. I recommend listening to theirs first and then jumping over to the Aspiring Kryptonians and listen to theirs, because they take place at different times of where he was at writing the books.
Well, I mean, you could listen to Aspiring Kryptonians, their early one back when his run first started,
and jump to Last Sons,
and then Last Sons, and then go back to the next one with the Aspiring.
And it's really great to just hear his story as a writer and what he's doing and accomplishing, and his goal with these characters and with Mongol and with Superman. And, I can't praise it enough of dealing with this, like the human trafficking element that is present without feeling like we said, it's not beating us over the head with it. And I very much look forward to the next phase and chapter in this story, as well as some of the stuff and ideas that he's kind of teased for where he wants to take these characters and the super family down the line. I will admit I am behind on a lot of my reading as far as Supergirl. She got that Tom Taylor run. Jesus, I'm getting very tired. It's hitting me, people. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I've only read 2 issues of that, and I'm pretty positive there's 6 out right now of a 12
and
issue.
Because you and I have had these conversations where I'm not feeling as strong of a pull to go to the shop and get all my books And a lot of my stories, I'm just like, you know what? I'm done. Like, I'll just wait for them to be on the app. Like, I'm paying for this app, and there's very few stories that I'm feeling the need to go and be a part of. And that's how I feel also a lot about reading Batman and like The Flash. I want to read these, but there's nothing that's drawing me to be there when they come out, that I'll just wait till they're on the app. And
yeah, which I've been kicking some ass this year so far, this month, of reading the new, latest releases, the latest weekly releases on DC Universe, and jumping back to when these books began after Future State, and catching up with what's there. So, on everything but Kryptonians, I'm 6 months behind, but I don't care. I'm paying for it, and I've read like 40 comics. It's awesome.
Yeah. My problem is I've had too is when Apple did their last update.
And it's only the 7th.
My iPad is it's old. Like, it's almost 7 years old, and it won't let me download like an older version of DC. So the app will not work on my iPad. So I like reading it on that compared to my phone. And so I have to get on the website, and sometimes that just gets to be a problem trying to use the website to read from a tablet, because it's like, download the app. I'm like, it doesn't work. Thanks a lot. But so that's kind of set me back a little bit, because that just became such a problem, because I hate trying to read comics on my phone. If I'm sitting on my computer, it's cool, like, to read. But that's 2021. I would say all in all, it was a good year for Superman. It was a great year. I mean, you can't really argue. We had it's amazing how, in a way, much like 2016, we got both a new Henry Cavill Superman project and Tyler Hoechlin. And then this year we got Tyler Hoechlin and Henry Cavill again. So it's kind of funny how that kind of works out. But any other final thoughts, James, before I get too tired to actually make sentences?
No, I think we did looking back at 2021, everything's super. Yeah, last year was a really good year for Superman, and I hope we get to continue this momentum. It's going to slow down again, but I think we're on an upswing. So hopefully we get some more great Superman content this year.
I think we will. I mean, we have season 2 coming. We have the continuation of Philip Kennedy Johnson's run, and we will see what else we get.
Got Philip Kennedy Johnson, got some Tom Taylor writing, moving forward. Tom King's Supergirl isn't done yet. I'm very interested. We got so little of Connor moving forward from the New 52, and then when Rebirth happened, he was in Young Justice, but wasn't a strong focus point in that. So actually him being a primary character in the Suicide Squad is really Suicide. But it's and it's very compelling what they're trying to do, because I mean, I'll give you one spoiler, is because it's Suicide Squad. Amanda Waller in Future State saying that Connor is super. So he's got a Superman suit, Superman design for himself in the future. And you know how the Future State is like, it's not set in stone that it's going to happen, but it's a possible future.
Which is
and
fun.
The way that the stories have been developed in Batman, Superman, and all the like characters is the stories are developing into possibly being seen. So very curious as to what's happening.
Future State's one of those like, hey, here's all these stories that probably don't matter just because we had this in the works. We need to put it out there, and we'll probably change everything. But here, buy it anyways. You're welcome.
Yeah. Without you reading it, it's hard to go into detail about it. I just like that they've been doing Connor over there. It's good to see him getting some attention again.
I've said this before. Brian had a great pitch. Shout out to Brian, Man Child of Steel, because we talked about Connor needs his own moniker. Connor needs to become the Nightwing to Batman, or the Nightwing to Superman. You know what I'm saying? He needs to be like Superman's Nightwing. And Brian said, wouldn't it be cool if his name was like Red Sun?
Yeah.
And,
like, well, he's the brother in arms.
Exactly.
You know? He's not his son. He's definitely his brother in arms.
Right. And I think that some Connor John stuff will be awesome to see at some point, of like, he's like an uncle, but yet you're very close in age. And there's a lot of,
oh man, was it, you say that, wasn't it freaking heartbreaking?
yes.
When John was, where's Uncle
Yes.
Connor? Young
And
Justice.
Superman had to try Clark to explain death to a child.
To a 2-year-old.
Yeah. I mean, it was amazingly done. And it hit hard just because I remember having,
Shout out to Nolan North delivering that dialogue so
yes.
well.
I mean, we tried to meet him recently that we didn't get to, but it just reminds me when I had to explain death to Solomon. He was about 2.5, almost 3, when my grandfather died, and he was trying to explain to him what was going on. But we're gonna put a pin in it. Been a good 2021. We look forward to 2022, and just remember. Do you like movies? Of course you do. Do you like comic book movies? Of course you do. Well, our Patreon is launched now. It's $1 a month. That's all we ask. $1 a month to hear great content. And right now, one of the biggest things we're doing on our Patreon is movie commentaries. I am a movie person, and I love to talk about movies. So what we're doing is at least 2 movie commentaries a month. You'll hear the wonderful voice of my wife, Jania, more often, and other special shows. Check out our Patreon at KryptonReport.com/Patreon. And all we ask is, hey, $1. It helps us keep the show on. We're not looking to get rich. We just help with the cost of doing this, and it helps a friend out. You loan a friend $1, you probably have $1 lying around the house and change. So check out patreon.com/KryptonReport. Sign up for the $1 a month and send us a message. You can be on the podcast. We can talk about something, anything you want to talk about. You can join us for a movie commentary if you want. So check it out.
And if you want to have a good time, keep listening to the Krypton Report.
If you're enjoying this podcast, here's some of our favorite podcasts to check out. Digging for Kryptonite, The Aspiring Kryptonian, Superman the Animated Podcast, The Last Sons of Krypton, The Geek of Steel, The All-Star Superfan Podcast, It All Comes Back to Superman, and Superboy Legacy. Supergirl Radio, and of course, always hold on to Smallville. Check all those out, enjoy those supercasts, and remember, keep listening. The Krypton Report is a Tears production. We thank you for listening and enjoying, and please support us on our Patreon account, our TeePublic store, and check out our social media. Always remember to look up in the sky.